On today's episode of Anime Afterthought, a certain scientific railgun season 3 episode 23, Possession. Now that is how you use CGI. My god, did today's episode look glorious, and we're just now starting the climactic season finale fight. Oh, and a side note before we get into today's episode, was anyone expecting something else beneath Leader's mask? Like a scar or maybe, I don't know, fang teeth or some shit? Like, they really put a lot of emphasis on that mask for it just to be, you know, a little cutie pie underneath. Now anyways, last we left off, we had what can be considered one of the most unluckiest groups of Dark Side of Academy City, Scavenger, not only fail at their mission to recapture the Doppelganger, but unfortunately they have once again run into a level 5 Esper. At least this one isn't an OP monster, semi-psychotic anti-hero type, but still, Mizuka is a level 5, and due to their post-trauma dealing with Accelerator, of course Scavenger would be on edge. Rounding out last week's episode, we really have a will they, won't they moment, as it looks like there's a possibility that there's going to be a rumble between Scavenger and Mikoto. And this is where we pick up today's episode. Now, I'm gonna be honest, the first 10 minutes or 10 and a half minutes minus the opening is basically a conversation between Leader and Mizuka, with Scavenger basically down and out, both Seke and everyone basically battered and bruised. I mean, even Leader has a broken arm. Scavenger's goal is to create a unified front. Better to use Mikoto than to fight her. Now, of course, this is easier said than done. This conversation is not without its hurdles. Obviously, they have to explain Seke, and basically they threw his ass under the bus. Oh, he's just a civilian. He's not actually part of our group. And then you have the lovable papier-mâché ditz, Naru, who blatantly admits once the top of the conversation switches to the new, you know, material absorption and manipulation that the Doppelganger has. Oh, that's our fault. We did that shit. Once again, the Leader just chalking this up to the previous battle they encountered, just scrambling her mind. But basically, it's up to a very serious lie that the Leader said to get Mizuka to trust them. Basically, using a fake judgment badge was enough to coax the level 5 into helping them. But as if the timing weren't bad enough, during this little will she or won't she believe my lie, Mizuka gets a phone call and it just happens to be Shoko. Yes, another level 5, and once again, Leader is pissing her pants. Or is it his pants? Now, I'm pretty sure Leader's a girl, right? I mean, we saw that cute face, but also Seke is kind of cute, so we'll try to keep the pronouns to neutral. Anyways, Leader once again is quick to act, making up another lie, saying, no, I have the Esper ability, some kind of search ability, but if there's gonna be another Esper with the mental affinity to their power, it might fuck up with my search, so you know what? You and me can handle it, don't worry about it. Realizing that if Shoko would show up on the scene, she would most definitely call out Leader and Scavenger's bullshit. But I have to say, the icing on the cake and quite literal proof that the quickest way to a railgun's heart is through her Gekida is once Leader and Mikoto have some kind of agreement, Leader hands her a communication device which just so happens to be Gekida. Now, of course, even this is fraught with its own disaster. Right now, Leader is walking a tightrope. Is Mizuka offended by this toy communicator, or do I play along with it and embrace it? And of course, you know, you pick embrace Gekida. Oh, I fell in love. And of course, this completely shows, you know, trust and confidence in the character she just fucking met, as Mizuka's like, you got great fucking taste. But there's definitely not a lot of time, so we have to head out because unfortunately the Doppelganger has her plan set in motion. Thanks to the information we received from Shoko during that very intense phone call, at least for Leader, we found out that maybe her destination just happens to be a invisible floating airship that just houses all the information in regards to Kariba Ryoku, and what Mental Out assumes if she destroys it, there would be some kind of diffusion of her soul. Now, whether that is her grand plan or not, the Doppelganger is literally wreaking havoc, so it's up to Mizuka to fucking stop her, but it's not gonna be that easy. While Railgun's power allows her to manipulate, you know, the magnetic field of objects, they have to have some kind of magnetic metal to be manipulated. Therefore, she was using iron. But when it comes to the Doppelganger's newfound soul possession ability, not only can she manipulate almost any matter, there doesn't seem to be a limit to the actual distance. As we see in their first scuffle, Mizuka is able to temporarily trap her in a cage of concrete, but as we see, once she easily is is able to escape. She's basically lifting these giant containers full of like flammable liquid and shit and just throwing it. I mean, she's causing a fucking wreck, wreaking havoc in this industrial place, you know, heading to her destination. Of course, I absolutely do love this scene. We finally get to see the leader unmasked, and like I said, it's basically normal. I was expecting scar or a burn mark or maybe a snaggletooth fang, at least something, but it maybe just looks like she's either trying to be number one when it comes to public health and safety. Maybe she had the flus or the sniffles, didn't want anyone sick, or maybe it's just some kind of fashion statement. The hands always did remind me of Speak No Evil, but I don't know. Lo and behold, he's just a normal looking kid. So with another phone call from Shokoho, the Doppelganger's plan is almost set in concrete. We know exactly where she's heading. It's the basically radar facility, which will enable her to basically locate this airship. But of course, this one is just completely packed with civilians, and I think there's even student dorms along the way, so this is not good. But of course, for Scavenger, it just happens to be coincidental that the place they were supposed to bring the Doppelganger to happens to be right across the river in a warehouse slash abandoned factory area. Now, once again, Leader is able to manipulate Mizuka, like, hey, let's go ahead and just send the Doppelganger over to this area. There's no buildings, there's no nothing. But of course, Mizuka knows that, I mean, there's skill out over there, basically a bunch of gangs just roaming this area. So it's up to the other members of Scavenger to make sure there's no casualties. I mean, obviously they're not into that, but when it comes to keeping Mizuka on their side, they have to keep, you know, injuries to a minimum. I do like this scene with Yakumaru playing damsel in distress. I really did find that funny. Of course, Naru has to have her moment when it comes to, you know, she should be in on this play. No, she actually thinks that someone hurt her and she's willing to stomp some ass. Such a simple, sweet girl. And of course, back at the Mizuka versus the Doppelganger, you know, this chase is just destroying bridges and shit's going everywhere. It really does seem there's like no limit to this Doppelganger's power. This soul possession is pretty fucking OP, especially given that last scene. But before we get to that, there's some business to take care of. You know, Scavenger technically has completed the contract. This last chance of them, you know, when it comes to the dark side of Academy City, like this was they needed a win at this point. So much so that even though the Doppelganger had basically transformed, is now able to manipulate matter and absorption and all this other shit, Leader is very convinced when it comes to forcing this scientist that was there to retrieve it into giving the A-OK, giving her Jane Hancock, and like, you know what, you guys did good. And then they fucking dip, and they're like, fuck this shit. There's a giant fucking OP, somewhat unstoppable monster heading their way. We gotta get the fuck out of here. Naru creates like a little fucking hover ship, and then Yakumaru uses her Mix Master ability, which is, like I said, such a good fucking name, to create the propulsion chemical. Like, I mean, that's pretty fucking cool. But I have to say the best part of that was a little bit of the backstory into Leader. Obviously, it looks like they were thrown under the bus, kicked out of whatever research facility they were into because they're just not good enough or whatever. Gives us a small glimpse in these characters that, from what you guys are saying, going further on, are very underutilized. There was even a moment where you think Leader might turn around and help her. Is it too late? Are we going to see her maybe help in the future episode? I keep saying she, but I'm pretty sure she's a girl. Where it looks like, you know, Mizuka really had some kind of influence on at least Leader, but I don't know. Like I said, from what you guys are saying, they're very underutilized characters, and they're pretty freaking unique. I mean, we just found out Seke is a fucking dude, so yeah. Anyways, here is where the shit gets real. The shit gets really real. The back and forth battle between Mizuka and Doppelganger is loaded with CGI, but it's actually pretty fucking good. I'm not a fan of it. I'm really not a fan of it. But when it comes to this, everything looks crisp and clear, yet blends in with the atmosphere, especially what happens at the very end. Like, they get this nice back and forth. Mizuka is realizing, you know, this is definitely going to be an uphill battle. I may be able to, you know, manipulate metal, but when it comes to you manipulating fucking everything, and it seems there's no limit to how much you can manipulate or the distance you can acquire it, yeah, this may be tougher than it seems. And yeah, it looks, I mean, she basically creates rubble concrete Godzilla. I mean, that's basically a giant fucking kaiju at the end. Like, my fucking god. Even the original scientist in charge of, you know, the cybernetic experiment, Mr. Ballcut, Mr. Mushroom Head, is shocked to see, you know, this debris flying, and when it finally coalesced in this giant fucking creature, like, shit. And with the moon behind it, like I said, that last image of the episode is fucking awe-inspiring. Like, that's gonna be in the thumbnail. But yeah, today's episode, fucking badass. Definitely gonna hit you guys with a live reaction next week. It feels like it's going to be definitely well worth the effort to watch that one live, especially seeing how the climactic fight has basically started. Like, this has been way fucking badass. And even in the previews, it looks like we finally get those Doppelganger clones. The real Ryoku comes back. Like, I'm fucking excited. I'm excited, but I'm also interested in what's gonna happen to this soul. The soul was created. Can it be destroyed? Do they want to destroy it? Do they want to contain it? Will it ever, you know, be satiated with life? I mean, I don't know. I'm excited to find out though. This got me amped, especially seeing how fucking awesome this looks. They definitely put a lot of effort in today's episode. I loved it. So with all that being said, and more Railgun and the continuation of this fight next week, I honestly cannot wait for future episodes.